Okay, hi everyone, thanks for coming. Today we're going to be talking about our Learning to Talk series number 5, and this is targeting for sale by owners. So how to approach them, how to talk to them, and the challenges that you're going to face with them, and ultimately how to convert them to business and get a paycheck at the end of the day. For sale by owners are a great segment, spinning plate to target. They're not the easiest to go after because they have a lot of hesitations in working with realtors, but there's so many out there, particularly in this area. There's lots to choose from. Just keep filling your pipeline with them, and ultimately, some of them will go through. All right, so why do FSBOs exist? Here's a number of reasons. First thing you have to remember, the real estate industry that we're in on a daily basis would not exist if our job were, simple and it was easy to sell a house. However, FSBOs have sort of this conception that, why should you pay, thousands of dollars to a realtor who, might be, just marketing your house and, walking you through the closing process. There's a whole lot more to it than that, as you realtors know. But these are some of the reasons that FSBOs sort of, decide to not enlist the services of a realtor. Again, it's the perception. They think that it's a cheaper way out to ultimately getting their home sold. They want all the control in their hands, which can often backfire for them because, as you know, closing a real estate transaction, there's so many things that can go wrong and usually do go wrong when they can go wrong. So there's issues with trusting real estate agents. Again, bringing all the control within, putting it on the FSBO, they can control the negotiation power. Even though realtors on a daily basis, are negotiating, we're getting the best deals for our clients as well. So that's another reason. They've had some previous bad experiences with realtors. Oftentimes FSBOs are also expireds where, at one point they might have been listed with a realtor. They might have been overpriced because the realtor that they were previously working with just could not do the quality job that you guys could. And ultimately decided to list on their own, try to save some money, and go about it that way. Another big reason is FSBOs. There are some that never even were approached by real estate agents. That's a great opportunity, and usually the easiest ones to go after because these ones oftentimes will see the importance of working with a realtor, but for whatever reason they're kind of closed off from the outer world and require people to reach out to them as opposed to them reaching out to a real estate office and ultimately talking with them. So again, there's a reason why the commissions are what they are. So again, this kind of goes back to the perception among FSBOs of realtors, as well as the commission prices that they want to try to avoid. So all your services, that's pretty much why your commissions are what they are. You get their homes into the MLS. You expand the network so much of potential buyers. In a lot of cases, FSBOs, the network, the people that they're bringing through their house is just family, friends, and neighbors. There's so much more out there, and really only realtors, only you guys have the power, have the access to all those people through your own networks, through the marketing that you do, through your experience, your intelligence in the area, and ultimately you guys can bring those people through to the house. Your jobs are to aggressively market the home. So once you get that FSBO listing, FSBOs should expect to get a surge in people coming through the property. So another big thing is FSBOs don't necessarily know the exact price of their home. A lot of times, it's based on a Zestimate or something, which is essentially just an algorithm, to come up with the price tag of a home. Sometimes it works, well, but I've seen some Zestimates that are, just hundreds of thousands off. So, FSBOs, if they're not educated on the market, again, they don't see these things on a day-to-day basis, and that's where you guys step in, can give them market information, give them more accurate prices. Remember, homes that sell the most are usually in the first couple weeks of being listed, and if a FSBO comes on overpriced, they're never going to get that home sold, and ultimately they'll wind up selling it for a whole lot less than what they could be selling it for. Again, you guys are expert negotiators, but after you finish negotiating a contract, there's like I said, there's all sorts of issues that can arise coming from a real estate transaction. You'll have title issues, you'll have lending issues, home inspection issues which need to be ultimately negotiated out and worked out and things like that. So, you know, this is where you really step in and really add a lot of value to the transaction process, and you know, also advising them on you know, the disclosures that you need to provide. I'll bet you most FSBOs out there, you know, whether they're in the MLS through a discount, you know, fee-for-service broker or not, more likely than not, they're not going to have a seller disclosure, they're not going to have a lead disclosure, and that's an opportunity for you to educate them, give them this information where basically if they don't fill this out properly, it could be a huge, huge fine from the EPA or another regulatory body. So you will get plenty of objections. Again, remember, it's, you know, it's just the nature of working with FSBOs. But you know, these are some ways to ultimately overcome those objections through just working out. You know, the key with FSBOs is to keep asking them lots of questions. Lots of questions. At first, it might frustrate them, but eventually they'll start understanding. Oh, well, wait a minute. I didn't get, you know, I might not have the most accurate price on my property. Wait a minute. I don't have too many showings. So, you know, you want to keep bombarding them with things. You know, you want to, again, sort of sell your services as well. Don't necessarily look at it as a, well, we'll talk about how to approach them shortly, but, you know, make sure that they know that you're willing to help them, but sort of take a little bit of a passive approach. You don't have to get it on the first appointment, and usually you won't get them on the first appointment. With FSBOs, oftentimes it takes a little while to ultimately get them to understand the value of your services and why you should ultimately enlist with them. So anyway, back to overcoming objections. Here are some ways, some statistics that you can use to ultimately work with them and ultimately get that business. So one of my favorites, 2014, the National Association of Realtors actually did a study and found that the average FSBO sold for only $210,000, which is about 10% to 15% less than what a home sold for when a realtor was enlisted for services at $250,000. So right off the bat, you know, FSBOs usually do sell for less than what they you know, what they could sell for with an agent. So that's a huge statistic to sell to your potential clientele there. Again, remember, the real estate industry would not exist if it were just a simple, easy, you know, buy, you know, sign the contract and ultimately close. No, real estate transactions, as you guys know, as we've discussed through other modules, takes, you know, you're going to find all sorts of, you know, issues coming from the process. So, you know, you guys got a little fly in my face. Yeah, I mean, there's so many things that you guys will have to overcome, and you guys do overcome them because that's what you guys get paid to do. You guys are experts on how to overcome these objections, these issues. People think they don't have to pay any commission at all when they're a FSBO, but in a lot of cases, you actually have to worry about the FSBOs will ultimately have to compensate a buyer's agent as well in order to you know, ultimately sell the property. So. And that could be, again, up to 3%. So, you know, if they want, you know, they can still save maybe on the seller side, but ultimately at the end of the day, a buyer agent who is only working on the buyer side, there's a very good chance that they're going to be expecting an even higher commission because they have to look after the transaction on both sides. They're the only agent working on it, and they very well may come in and ask for 4, 5, 6%, potentially even more, depending on the agent and their business plans. Mr. Seller, do you know how to read closing documents, execute purchase agreements, or come up with an appropriate value of their home? Again, guys, it's the real estate transaction process. There's so many forms, there's so many documentation that you have to go through from start to finish to ultimately get your home sold. In a lot of cases, realtors just don't, for sale by owners don't understand the complexity to the real estate transaction process. So there's plenty of, you know, sort of not guidelines, but the timeline, that document that we use, that's a document to give to them. Explain it all out to them. Did you know about title searches? Did you know about HOA approvals? Did you know about all these hurdles that you're going to have to get through before you ultimately sell your home to the buyer who comes through your property? So another thing to keep in mind, are you familiar with disclosure laws? Did you know that a single mistake on the property lead notification disclosure could cost you $11,000? The first thing that the FSBO is probably going to say when you tell them this is, what the hell is a lead disclosure, you know? So, and that's something that, you know, and we're going to discuss in a sec, it's an item that you can give to sellers, as an item of value when you're trying to court them. Give them information about the process, but you don't have to tell them how to fill it out, and they're going to be asking questions. Well, wait a minute. $11,000. This is a lot of money here. I got to make sure that I do this properly. And there's a lot of check marks and blanks and initials and signatures here. I can't be sure if I know every step of the way of how to do this. So that's very important to get that right with sellers and as realtors as well. Then also question them on their marketing strategy as well. What are they doing to get people through the house to ultimately ultimately find a buyer and sell it, So, this is an instance where you can also sell, your listings as well. Well, I've been so busy, at open houses. Did you know, Mr. Seller, that, I had 20 people at my open house last week, and this property's been on for a while. How many did you get at your open house? And they're going to think, well, wait a minute. Maybe I only got 2 people. Maybe they didn't even get any. So, again, that's when you really sell that, the market's hot, the market's moving, there's lots of opportunities, and homes are selling quickly, as they are at the moment, to ultimately, I lost my train of thought there. It basically express the importance of, having your home priced at the right price, and also come up with a marketing strategy, which you can provide them. For sale by owners might not be able to. And ultimately, selling that to them and getting everything straightened out for them. All right, so different ways to find FSBOs here. There's a number of sources. Oftentimes they're a little bit more difficult than other sources because they aren't always listed in the MLS. Oftentimes you got to go out and chase them down, track them down, and then ultimately be able to market to them. So here's a couple different ways you can. The best way is just doing drive-bys through your neighborhood. If you happen to see a for sale by owner, on your drive to Dunkin' Donuts in the morning, make note of it, and then on the weekend, even do a door knock or something and drop by and say hi, give them your card, and just say that you want to take a look at your home because I might have a buyer interested in it, and ultimately, sort of start your courting process at that point. Local newspapers as well. Although print advertising these days has a very, very low percentage of conversion in terms of marketing, FSBOs don't understand this. I think it's less than like 5% or so. But so you will see some for sale by owners because that's the only sort of way that they know of to market their home. But I mean, I can't imagine that too many buyers these days would happen to come across a newspaper and say, oh hey, I'm reading this for the for sale by owner directory, I'm going to go take a look at this property. In a lot of cases, buyers will approach for sale by owners because they think that they might be able to get a better deal, and in a lot of cases they can because again, for sale by owners don't necessarily understand the negotiating process and things like that. So again, that's a little bit off topic, but back to this. There's several websites that you can check out to ultimately track down some for sale by owners and get their numbers, get their contact info to start courting them that way. Big websites are FSBO.com, theredx.com, forSaleByOwner.com. Craigslist is another very popular place for sale by owners to post on. It would be under the, I think Craigslist has a real estate for sale section there, which you can click on and find people that way. And then even Zillow as well. I believe Zillow has a subcategory under homes for sale that are homes that are listed by for sale by owners. If you do go through the MLS, you might be able to find some through the notorious fee-for-service brokers out there who will basically say, hey, Mr. FSBO, I am going to charge you $200 and you're gonna have your listing be put in the MLS because I'm gonna put it in for you. That's all I'm gonna do. I'm not gonna do any other services for you, but at least your home's gonna be in the MLS so that other realtors can understand that you're out there and ultimately come to your property. Again, guys, as you know, as realtors, just because your home is in the MLS does not it's not a good marketing strategy. There's so many other tools that you guys need to use. you gotta get your homes on other websites out there. Although print advertising isn't necessarily important, you can put homes there. Your network, of course, is critical, and these are all the things that for sale by owners don't understand. So look up the John Snows of your area. Go to Craigslist. Figure out, look them up in the MLS and see which listings they have. Usually they don't have an exclusive agreement with them, so you can still approach them, and if they do, then, if they decide that, okay, this marketing strategy isn't working for them, which, it likely isn't, they'll probably be able to cancel their contract with the fee-for-service broker, and then you'll ultimately be able to take it over. Another great service, another creative one, is become friends with your garbage men and your mailmen. These are people, as you know, who are going up and down the street every day, either collecting garbage or, putting mail in people's mailbox. So they see things that a lot of people aren't necessarily privy to who are just driving through the area. They talk to people as well. So utilize the help of mailman Mike and see if he can either potentially give you some leads. Mailman Mike might also be able to give you some leads on other people, just through casual conversation, have expressed interest in potentially putting their home on the market shortly. So they might even come up with other leads that aren't necessarily for sale by owners, but you might be able to get a head start in ultimately finding them and marketing them and converting on them. So how to approach a FSBO here. So guys, because for sale by owners are a very important way to ultimately get business for realtors, you have to be atypical. You're not going to be the only one who's trying to court them, so you need to stand out in some way. Today we're going to do some calls at the end of this and ultimately, try to track people down that way, but always follow up with a visit, or you can always start with a visit as well. You can basically say, hey, I'm an expert in this industry, I have a lot of buyers in this area, I couldn't find your house on the MLS, but I always want to stay abreast of the market, so I wanted to check out your home and update my for sale by owner inventory. So in case I have a buyer in there, I'd like to be able to show it to them and know that you're around. So again, be atypical and really show your stuff, show why you're different from the rest of the pack. Again, FSBOs are a very good way to do door-to-door marketing. Remember, door-to-door marketing is not as efficient as making calls, but the conversion rate, it's only about 1 in 20. You'll get an appointment from 1 in 20 face-to-face, as opposed to calling, which is about 1 in 50. So keep this in mind. Door-to-door marketing is if it's something you feel comfortable with, go for it, and see if you can convert that way. Again, with any meeting that you have with, face-to-face meeting that you have with a for sale by owner, try to give them an item of value. Again, this shows that you're sort of looking out for them, but also it sort of starts the perception of understanding how it would be like to ultimately work with you for the for sale by owner. You sort of want to instill the fact that that you're looking out for them, and sort of get rid of those perceptions that realtors don't do anything to ultimately sell their home. They're not worth the commission, because you guys are worth the commission. And you might not even have a contract with them, but they will of course appreciate it. They might not know what to do with those items of value, like the lead disclosure or seller's disclosure, but at least they see that you're doing something above and beyond what everyone else is doing. Again, always remind them, if you do need help with selling your home, that you're available and can do that for them. Be persistent. Weekly contacts and visits over several weeks is very, very important. This is because other realtors will give up very, very quickly on for sale by owners. Only about half the realtors out there will still be in the game for courting a potential for sale by owner after week 1. Of the remaining 50%, only another half of those people will probably drop out in 2 weeks. So already right off the bat, you're going to have 75% of your competition dropping out in 2 weeks. But you guys are going to be strong realtors. You're not going to give up, as I know you don't, and you're going to keep going. After 3 weeks, you got about 90% giving up. And if you guys can stay persistent, stay consistent in contact with them over the course of 4 to 8 weeks, if they still don't convert, that home is still probably going to be sitting on the market. And if the for sale by owner wants to get the home sold, they're ultimately gonna cave in and hopefully work with you guys at the end of the day. So be persistent. It might take a couple months, but you know what? Real estate transactions are never quick, as we know in this business. All right, so I'll just run through a couple scripts. You know, after you make that first connection with them,